majority consider a matter important, parliamentary time, procedure, and urgency are readily applied. Yet, the very issue previously described as a moral emergency and a defining national question has not been accorded similar treatment. This is sheer hypocrisy. In parliamentary terms, urgency is not accidental. It is directed. Urgency is therefore a choice. The big question is, what is the status of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill as we speak? What is the current status now? Now, for the avoidance of doubt, the previous Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill elapsed with the dissolution of the last parliament in accordance with established parliamentary convention. Consequently, the bill was properly reintroduced as a private member's bill and duly placed on the order paper of the current parliament. However, within 24 hours, the bill was removed from the order paper at the instance of the majority leader, the Honorable Ayariga. At his instance, it was removed from the order paper. As you are much aware, before anything is listed on the order paper, especially a private member's bill, it goes through a certain outline procedure in the standing orders. It means that the Speaker of Parliament must have approved it. It means that the Clerk of Parliament must have approved it. It means that the legislative draftsman must have documented and drafted the processes, or if you like, the line items as to how the bill will have to be introduced to the floor of Parliament. It took one person, the majority leader of Parliament, to remove it from the order paper. The justification that they offered was that they believed the bill had already been passed. You remember when the President of the Republic of Ghana met the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference? The President said that the bill has not been passed, and it should be brought back to Parliament, for Parliament to now pass the bill, for him to now assent to it. You have the President of the Republic of Ghana telling you one thing, then the majority leader also telling you another thing. And he is the leader of government business. It should tell you how hypocritical they have turned the issues. The status of a bill is a matter of record governed by the standing orders and official parliamentary business statements, not assumption. Whether by negligence or design, the effect has been the same. The deliberate frustration of a bill was previously championed with moral urgency. Ghanaians must also be reminded that comprehensive sexuality education was formally introduced into Ghana's education policy framework between 2012 and 2016. The first time that comprehensive sexuality education was ever introduced into our education system was when President Mahama was President of the Republic of Ghana from 2012 to 2016. It was done in partnership with the UNFPA, who signed agreement, which I also have copies here. And after the interview, I also gave the copies to the media. It was a pilot program, NGO-led interventions and curriculum integration processes. Despite this record, the NDC orchestrated a national outcry in 2019, falsely attributing the comprehensive sexuality education to the NPP while distancing itself from its own foundational role. Today, that same pattern of political inconsistency is repeating itself through silence on state-approved materials introducing concepts society has consistently rejected. In the light of the foregoing, we, on the side of the minority, demand the following actions, grounded in constitutional governance and parliamentary accountability. 1, we on the side of the minority demand that there is an immediate withdrawal of all teaching and learning materials containing LGBTQ-related content, including redefined concepts of sex, sexuality, sexual orientation, sexual rights, and gender identity from all schools. You remember when NACA brought their statement, as it were, to respond to Reverend Ntimfojo, they made mention of the fact that the current manual has been withdrawn from the schools. And Dr. Park also made Ghanaians also know that even though it has been withdrawn, he referred us to an online version of the manual. In that online version, it is even worse. The definitions of what sex, sexuality, and others are is even worse in that online version. The minority is also demanding a transparent and inclusive review of all affected teaching and learning materials involving Parliament, religious bodies, traditional authorities, parents, civil society organizations, education experts, and teacher unions. 3, the dismissal of the Director General of NACA and the chairperson of NACA board for failure of oversight and breach of public trust. We say so because NACA is now telling us, assuming without admitting, that the document was developed by the MPP government in 2024. If you don't believe in it, why then do you go ahead to go and even print them in 2025? That is causing financial loss to the state. Because these are teacher manuals that you have printed and distributed across the country. And that is why we are calling for the head of the NACA CEO and the board chairperson of NACA. The institution of a full parliamentary inquiry by the appropriate committee of the House into the development, approval, funding, and circulation of these materials, including the role of external partners. Now, there's a call of conscience and civic responsibility. I once again use this opportunity, and on behalf of my colleagues, call on the bishops, that is the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ghana, the Christian Council of Ghana, the Methodist Conference, the Presbyterian Conference, the Muslim Conference, to examine the teacher manual carefully and determine whether its content is in consonance with the teachings of Christ. And for those who are also Muslims, to also assess whether the content in the teacher manuals are also in consonance with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it is not in consonance with that, we want to hear from them. We are also calling on the broader Christian community, religious bodies, civil society organizations, parents, traditional leaders, teacher unions, and all well-meaning Ghanaians to let their voices be heard. They cannot be quiet. They cannot practice magnum silencium. We need to hear from them. Parliament responds to pressure. Silence weakens accountability. This is not a partisan matter. It is a question of national values, legislative integrity, and the moral direction of our education system. We further challenge the NDC government to state clearly on the floor of Parliament and to the Ghanaian people whether it still stands by the statement it made in opposition. Which statement at the tail end of my submission, I will read some of them out to you. Whether delay still amounts to endorsement, and whether it will finally align its parliamentary conduct with its public rhetoric. History will not remember slogans. It will remember votes, rulings, and decisions, and silence in moments like this is itself a legislative choice. Thank you. Let me also take you through some of the things that they themselves said before I can do the tree translation. So we have in our hands quite a few of the things that were said by the NDC when they were in government. Number one, this is joint news publication. That if Parliament passes anti-LGBTQ bill and sends to me as president, I will sign it. You remember he said this when he met the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. That is President Mahama. The Honorable Sam George, this is also a Joy News publication. Sam George calls on Akufo-Addo to sign into law. I mean, these were loud voices that were heard in the build-up to the 2024 elections. Another Joy News publication. Newsfile digs into who really is delaying its passage. The minority is also challenging Newsfile to do a similar check as to who is delaying the passage of the LGBTQ. They cannot be silent. What is good for the goose is also good for the gander. We are practicing a democracy that should be fair, a democracy that is hinged on justice. A Newsfile should be heard in these circumstances. There is also City FM Online. The passage of anti-gay bill won't have economic implications. Sam George. The media is quiet about all these statements that were made. City FM, that is their online publication, expedite determination of cases against anti-gay bill. Sam George to Chief Justice. Today we want to hear from him. Another one also from him. This is graphiconline.com. Sam George, false Ghana's abstention, calls for swift bill approval. You remember there was an international program where Ghana also went there to go and abstain from voting with respect to the LGBTQ. And this is Mahama Yariga. The NDC government will not run away from the bill like MPP did. They said that they are not going to run away from how the MPP ran away from the LGBTQ plus bill. 1 year on, we want to know, are they walking away from it or they are running away from it? Unianum. And then, I no pay you. Your friend will hide your body. Yen sem ye tia wape. Yen ka bi nshem ye hu se nakafo e de nsem bi aba betudwa na se omo troye bi omo troye. Omo de ahyemu se afi de LGBTQ no. Omo de akwa hye eye teacher manual sinimu a teacher for de betumi a kire sa de no.
So that is the minority led by Vincent Akol Asifwa, speaking about what has come to public domain about some books that came out in the senior high school teacher manual after acknowledging that certain content of the gender identity in year 2 physical education and health elective, that is teacher manual, did not align with Ghanaian culture and norms and values. But just to refresh your mind on what really the content is there with this particular book, when you see the book, it comes to the explanation of sexual and reproductive health. In there states under gender, which is point 4, gender identity, that it refers to a person's deeply felt internal experience of gender, which may or may not correspond with the sex assigned at birth. It can also include being male, female, or a blend of two. This concept goes beyond the binary notion of gender, that is into bracket male and female, and recognizes the diversity of gender experience and expression. So this is what has really created a lot of concern that people are saying that, well, it is an attempt to push the agenda that is the LGBTQI plus issues in the country. You know, Nana Tufo-Boateng is here with me, head of news, for us to discuss briefly what the minority is asking for. But Nana, this issue has really come to stay and has become topical because of what the current administration, then when they were in opposition, made mention of the LGBTQI bill that we're asking that the president then, President Akufo-Addo, should assent to. And eventually we are seeing this in the books, that is a teacher manual. But the minority is asking for the immediate dismissal of NACABOS.
Indeed, and Philip, there are various steps or incidences, as you have quietly rehashed, that have led us to this point. There's the general debates that we have had in this country regarding family values, our morals, what the law says regarding activities of LGBTQ plus, as you'd have it. And that passage of the private members bill in the previous parliament, but did not get the assent of the president, owing to a number of, legal cases,
court issues,
against it. Subsequently, we've heard the president say in an address, or if like a meeting with the Catholic Bishops' Conference, suggesting that the bill should not be a private member's bill, should be a government-sponsored bill, and so the Attorney General is working on same. And of course, if the bill is passed and presented to him as the president, he will assent to it. While all this is happening at the top, a number of activities are underneath. And one of such is what has brought us to this particular conversation.
Exactly.
Recall that this expose, if I can put it that way, was by the Member of Parliament for Asin South,
Reverend Ntim
Fojo. Also recall that Reverend Ntim Fojo is or was one of the proponents
of the bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on that stead, you can speak to a level of consistency on his part regarding his position on this matter. Now, subsequent to his expose on the gender identity concept in the teacher manual, the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, that's the NACA, has withdrawn the teacher
said
manuals.
Yeah.
However, in that withdrawal, it was communicated that the development of that manual was in 2024, suggesting that this is something that was done under the erstwhile Akufo-Addo administration. And so that is what would have triggered the minority today to hold a press conference to, if you like, per their own account, set the record straight regarding the development of this particular manual. Now, Vincent Eko Asafwa is the Member of Parliament for Otafo, but at one time in the administration of Akufo-Addo was a spokesperson for the Education Ministry. And so is privy to some of these things. And so he addressed the press today. And he sought to say that when that manual was being developed, there was no inclination towards LGBTQ or this gender identity concept in there. And so he's putting it back at the doorstep of NACA. And if you like, dissociating the minority or the MPP government then from the formulation of this particular concept within the teacher manual. Now, his major call is for the dismissal of the CEO of NACA and the board chair. Now, if you listen to him, granted that even this formula or this teaching manual was developed in 2024, someone approved of it, someone printed it, someone distributed it, and all this will be done with public funds.
And NACA in concern.
And this is NACA.
Yeah.
So if it's been approved, printed, distributed, now recalled, at whose expense? Exactly.
State's expense.
So somebody must be held accountable for it.
Sort of there is financial loss that has been caused.
Indeed, if you want to extend that conversation that way. So clearly, there's a call for the dismissal of the CEO of NACA as well as the board chair by the minority. But beyond that, they're also asking for a transparent review of all teaching materials that have any LGBTQ plus induced, if you like, concepts in it. They want a general review, a general withdrawal of all such materials. And then, of course, they are calling on the religious organizations and the CSOs to put a word in, and of course, to also, if you like, interrogate some of the teaching manuals to be sure that's based on consistency and the position of the church, or if you like, the religious associations in the country. There's no such thing being taught in our schools. You would also want to lean towards that direction because a good number of the schools, especially owing to the fact that this teaching manual is not for primary or the basic, it's for senior high schools. And most of these senior high schools are for their religious bodies. So it's important that they also get involved to investigate some of the teaching manuals and then, of course, see what exactly is in there, what is being taught to the students. Now, there's a charge on the majority as well, and if you like, the government, to come clear on their stance on LGBTQ. And you saw him raising some of the things that were said when this government was
one
in
of
opposition.
the proponents,
Sam George, who's also a proponent of that private members bill, quite vociferous then on his stance, even calling on the CJ to expedite adjudication of one of the cases regarding LGBTQ and all. So the minority today is calling on the government of the day to make clear their position on this matter. And you saw him citing some publications from Channel One newsonline.com as well as citynewsroom.com.
Beautiful. So that's an in-depth submission made there by head of news, Nana Tufo-Boatenana. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Philip.
But you'll still be following up on this keenly, and we'll bring you what other stakeholders will be saying concerning this issue that is really catching the public's eye. My name is Philip Nilate. Keep watching Channel One TV.